Well, it is a day when Muslims observe the end of the holy month, and we say Eid al-Fitr Mubarak to all Muslim brothers and sisters who are celebrating this day out there. On Juba Eco TV, we are together. We are a diverse company that, of course, has different religions. As me, myself, who is hosting this special program today, I had to pray in the morning and have to be in the studio to do what I love doing so very much. Sports and football in particular is a sport that without I don't breathe. Without football, my life is a little bit full of sickness. And that is because I live, I breathe, I sleep. If I can go a day without food, but I cannot go a day without a game of football. That is how close football is into my life. Welcome to the Sports Blitz on Juba Eco TV. It is a special show on Eid Day because you should have seen the likes of the disco, the likes of Emma DJ in the studios, but it is Kelly Abale who is hosting this one today. And because it is a special show, we have a special guest in the studios. 2025 probably will be in July. We expect the elections of South Sudan Football Association to take place. The reign of General Agustino Madud Parek will definitely be coming to an end in July. And then SSFA has to pronounce itself on the new elections to be held when God knows if they will be there. Because there is a saying that generals once in power do not want to vacate the seat. Will it be that way this time in football, or the elections will be held? Candidates usually start showing the interest of contesting for positions when it is maybe 6 months, 3 months. But today, a gentleman, I could say a young man, because I believe he's in his late 40s, has decided to show interest in that seat more than a year before the pronouncement is made for these elections to take place. He has his own interests that he would love to see this country develop football-wise. We've had stories of people, coming out to say there's corruption in football, resources are not channeled in the right place. People have built houses using football money. He's showing the interest. Is he not going to come and steal the money for football? That one is left for him. In the studios today is TENG, DENG, all the way from UK, United Kingdom, basketball. So Luol Deng living a luxurious life in the United States and come to Juba, contest for the presidency, and we managed to reach the World Cup for the first time in the history of this country. Is Mr. Deng going to be the Luol Deng of football? That is a question. He will be giving us the answers. Welcome to the show.
Thank you,
Mr.
Kelly.
Deng.
Thank you very much for the introduction. It's wonderful to be here. I just want to greet your guests on Juba Echo TV, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to have me on today.
First things first, who is a Teng Deng?
Well, first of all, Teng Deng is a South Sudanese, so I represent everybody in this country. I know there's divisive stuff going on within the country, but first of all, I'm young, so I'm trying to unite. That's our mission. We don't have any of these major issues that, shall I say, the previous generation has. So we're trying to bridge that gap. We're trying to be one country, and we're trying to paint a better picture for people within the East Africa, within Africa, and outside, to show them that this is who we are. We're a young nation, and we're trying to develop and present the best face possible to represent South Sudan the best way we can.
The footballing history.
Yes.
Do you mind telling the viewers
Yeah.
DENG's footballing history, so that they get to know this. Is this the right man who is coming into this position? The
Yeah.
why question will come later.
Well, just briefly, I'll give you a rundown of my footballing history. So, I'm lucky enough to have a good family support system in the UK through my mother, father, cousins, uncles, and so on. And I joined an academy really early, from the ages of 8 or 9 years old in the UK, and stayed with them from age 8 all the way to 23, a professional academy in the UK, right? And then gradually graduated from there, and in between, while I was at the academy, attended university as well, completed university in 2007, 8, and then continued on my playing career. So I spent some years in the UK playing, spent some years in Belgium also playing, Mexico. I spent 3 years there playing in Mexico for a team from Monterrey, and then finished kind of my playing career in the US, and then slowly transitioned into the coaching arena. Obviously, that's what I studied while I was at school, because I know this career doesn't last a very long time. Within your 30s, it starts to come to an end. So the coaching came my second career, and I've worked for several clubs in the UK, some of the Premier League clubs. Fulham was one of the clubs I worked for. Tottenham Hotspur is one of the clubs I worked for. Also worked at Arsenal for several years. And most recently,
Well, I believe you're an Arsenal
I'm an
fan.
Arsenal fan indeed. And
So you are the guys who were supporting Manchester United yesterday for the first time.
let's just say there's no I don't want to cause that divide between your viewers and your fans, but let's just say I'm a strong Arsenal fan.
Who supported Man United yesterday
Absolutely,
against Liverpool?
that is the case.
Okay.
That is the case. So, and I wish nothing for the best for our team, and we can only focus on what Arsenal has to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
The playing career.
Yeah.
Do you mind telling us some of the clubs you played for?
So I played for Charlton Athletic. That was one of the clubs I played for.
Okay.
When I was in the academy, I spent years there. Then I played with the youth team, 19s, 18s, with a club called Standard Liège in Belgium.
Yeah, Standard Liège.
Yeah, and then from there I moved to a club called Monterrey, FC Monterrey in Mexico. And then slowly started ending my career in the US and MLS. So I spent some time with Chicago Fire, and then transitioned into coaching over there. And that's kind of where my coaching career began. And then,
So, how has it been transitioning from a player to
a coach,
the coaching aspect?
So I think I was prepared for it, because I know this doesn't last forever. So when I went to university, I was still in my early playing days. So the idea was to have a career after my current career, right? So, and coaching is 30 years, 40 years, 50 years. It's a long career, right? So I prepared for it. While I was still playing, I still worked with the young kids within the clubs that I was at the time. So worked with maybe the 10s, 11s, 12s, 13s, 14s, just to build up a little bit of experience. So by the time I was done, it was easy to transition into the coaching side. And it's something I've always wanted to do. So, and that's all I've done pretty much my whole life, from age 7, 8, all the way to now.
Well, someone would say all your career,
Yeah,
or your life,
yeah,
you've been to the UK, Belgium,
Yeah.
Mexico,
okay, yeah.
the US.
Yeah.
And what do you know about South Sudan football?
Well, first of all, I know it's a young nation, and I know it's definitely a young nation. And one thing I do know, I know a lot of the South Sudanese players that are playing outside of South Sudan, especially the ones that are in Europe, the ones in the US, and we have a big community in Australia. So that community, we have like a very small community of us outside in diaspora. So we find each other, we know each other, right? And one of the things that kind of really inspired me to kind of, try to go on this journey was the success that basketball had, and that kind of inspired me. It brought everybody together. Doesn't matter where you're from, we became one. And the success of that was so inspiring. And I think this country has maybe a bigger football fan base than it does basketball, right? And once I kind of saw that, going to the Olympics, being number one in Africa now, and I honestly think we have the capacity within East Africa and within Africa in general to move forward as a nation in terms of football.
You know South Sudan's football
Yeah.
in the Australian perspective.
Yeah.
Let's bring it down to home,
Yeah.
home base.
Yeah.
What is the knowledge you have about South Sudan's football? within the country?
So I'll be 100% honest. I know what I see from the playing, from when they play the games locally the last several years. I know that a lot of the players are, some of the local players, some are coming from Europe, but I only know my understanding of the actual players in the home base is very limited. Reason being because I've been abroad, I've been working abroad for several years, and now is the time. That's why I've started this quite early, to come home to understand what's going on in the States, from a bit all the way down here, just to have a better understanding of what's going on and try to be fully active and be fully involved within the football organization within the country. So I'm not going to sit here and say, okay, I understand everything, because I'm over there and things are going on that's a little bit different.
When you,
Yeah,
I like your honesty,
yeah,
because I've had interactions or interviews with a couple of people who come from the western
yeah,
part.
yeah,
They will come and tell you stories. Yeah, I know this, I know that, I
yeah,
know this, I know that.
yeah.
Now, you are coming into you're showing your interest
Yeah,
of contesting into an institution
yeah,
to
yeah.
become the president
Yes,
of
absolutely.
South Sudan Football
Yeah.
Association. Why South Sudan Football
This is
Association?
home. I'm a South Sudanese. I was born here. My parents are here. My grandparents are here. My cousins are here. My family's here. And for a lot of us that are in the diaspora, the reason we left in the first place is because of the struggles and the war and so on and so on. So we've gone outside. The objective is not for us in the diaspora to stay there forever. That's not the objective. If there was peace here, we would have stayed here originally, correct?
Someone is going to be asking,
Yeah,
what should we expect from this young gentleman
yeah,
who's been outside,
yeah,
understands the outside world
yes.
more than perhaps our engulfed world?
Okay.
What is that unique thing
Mm.
that you think you are going to bring into the South Sudan Football Association if they give you the chance to
I
be the
think for me,
president?
it's the experience that I've gained from my playing days, my coaching days. I was actually a director of football at one of the universities in London for a 3-year period. So I ran the whole program there with a huge budget. So I have enough experience to know how to run that infrastructure in order to get results. So that's one of the experiences that I've had outside. And in terms of South Sudan, I'm not new here. I know maybe this may be the first time people are hearing about me, in terms of this football aspect, but I've been coming back here since 2005. My father's been here, my mother's here. So every time we have a holiday, Christmas, summer, I'm always here. I'm always here 5, 6 times a year because I'm always visiting my family. So reason I say that now is it's to drive the point to I'm not new here. Even though I'm from the diaspora, but we're not new. We come consistently, so we're aware of the landscape of what's going on in the country, and we want to do our bit to contribute.
So, what should we expect? What is that unique thing that you're going to bring to change the face of football? Like I started
Okay.
with the introduction.
Yeah.
One, we've known the Football Federation
Yeah.
for being an institution that is corrupt,
Yeah.
where resources are swindled,
Yeah.
where there is no interest to develop the young talent,
Okay.
where there's no interest to develop the infrastructure,
Yeah.
where we do not have a national league,
Yeah.
we have a marketing department that perhaps is full of mediocres who
Yeah.
do not know what they're supposed to do at
Okay.
the end of the day. So someone is going to, the voters are going to ask, because
Yes.
I'm not going to vote,
Yeah.
the viewer is not going to vote.
Yeah.
There is a specific group of people
Absolutely.
that perhaps you have to convince
Yeah.
to give you the vote.
Yeah.
They will be asking,
Mm.
what is that unique thing that TENG DENG is
Yeah.
going to bring
Yeah.
into football?
Yeah.
Yes.
So, in short, what I would definitely bring into the football is the improvement of the infrastructure. I think with any organization, football organization, the infrastructure is important. It's really, really important. And I've said the point of, for example, our stadium. Our stadium hasn't been open for whatever reason. I don't know what the reasons are, but playing games abroad is not beneficial to our home nation. We have thousands of people here that want to see our nation improve and develop. So that would be the first starting point. If we can get the stadium ready and open so our fans can come and support our young guys, whether it's the women's side or the men's side, that's absolutely important. and I'm really going to press on that later, making sure that the women have equal opportunity, because we have a lot of talent here that could really excel. That's the first thing. And I think the second thing is, I think just my experience abroad, knowing how to run an organization would definitely help here in South Sudan. Right. Third thing, attracting the players that are outside of this country. That's a major, major, major bonus, I think, because I have a strong tie with those guys in the diaspora, and I'm also building a tie here. And the whole objective is, how can we improve South Sudan? How can the football become so much better so the world knows about who we are, similar to the basketball, what the basketball has done. So these are the points that I'm really, really trying to press on. So if anybody doesn't know me, these are the 3 or 4 key points that I'm trying to develop. And the organization comes with a lot of things, right? And these are my experiences that I can bring to the national team, and we can move things forward.
You're comparing yourself to the basketball.
Yes.
Basketball has solely been an individual funding.
Yes.
We have a government perhaps that looks at building houses outside the country using
Yes.
our oil money anyway.
Yeah.
They are not ready to support sports institutions.
Yes.
And how are we going to get the resources
So
to do whatever you are intending to do?
So generally, I have really strong ties outside of the country, right? I have peers that work at FIFA, right? So that, for me personally, is a positive, right? So it's, if we're not able to self-sustain here, I have maybe the strong connections and maybe even my own personal resources at the beginning to try to help out, and we can see how we can move forward. But this is a commitment that I'm willing to kind of step forward and give to the public, and also try to get funding externally, right?
How are you going to get the funding externally?
So naturally is, we'll go to the first point. Well, FIFA is our first point, right? Because there is a budget for every nation. Right?
FIFA usually sends, actually, I think they increased it from this year
Yeah.
to 2.5,
Okay.
if I'm not wrong, 2.5 million US dollars.
Possibly, but
Yes.
I believe there is more, because there is funding for the national team, there's funding for coaches, there's funding for infrastructure.
It's actually the funding, the 2.5
Yeah.
caters for whatever you're talking about.
Okay.
The national team, the bus,
Okay.
the stadium maintenance, let's say like trainings, youth development.
But I believe there's
Yeah.
more. I believe there's more than that, because I've seen the funding other nations get within the continent, and I've seen the funding other nations get in Europe, and we definitely qualify as a nation to be able to have that funding. And usually what qualifies us is, once we start implementing these things, we get a 2.5 million or whatever it may be, 5 million. Once we now have a facility or something to show, the funding will keep coming in. It's, can we do what we say, right? If you tell me something and you give me something, now can I go deliver it? Once I deliver it, then we build a trust. And that's what the problem is at the moment. Because there is no trust, the funding is becoming difficult. So now, if I'm able to deliver, after maybe, if I am in after maybe a year or 6 months, once I deliver something, then it will continue, right? And then once that continuing infrastructure is there, then we can start to become self-sufficient. And the more successful we are on the pitch, the more money we're able to make as a nation.
Let's talk about your focus seems to be more on bringing the boys and girls, perhaps, who are abroad, back home.
Yes.
What is going to be your plan?
Yeah.
For the local boys and girls?
Okay, so my plan, ideally, for the local boys and girls is not only use the guys from the outside, is integrating the guys from the outside and the guys from the local leagues. You might have 10, 15 guys that are really the best players that we have within the country, and you merge them with those guys, because now they may have opportunities to go elsewhere and earn a really good living outside of the country. Because as we know, you're not going to be able to make the kind of money in South Sudan League that you are making outside of the continent, correct? So for me personally, the starting point means a long-term plan. It's a 10-year plan, 12-year plan, 15-year plan. So each state deserves their own national academy. That's a huge thing. Once we're able to get to that point and we have facilities all over the states, now we can start picking from all these states, all over the country and bringing the best of the best to the capital. And then now we can pick from those. But again, it goes back to trust. I need to be able to trust the guys from Upper Now, and to trust the guys from Wow, from Awul, from Yei, from all these other states, for us to work together collectively in order to produce the best results for the players.
That is for the national teams.
Yes, absolutely.
Let's look at the local clubs, the local football clubs. The football administration here is a little bit different from perhaps European side. We have different local football associations. I think the biggest should be Juba Local Football Association because it is in the capital. What is going to be your plan for the local football clubs to ensure that they are able to generate resources, that they are able to, sustain themselves?
So my honest answer, I will be honest, absolutely honest with you guys. So the first point is sitting down with these guys. What is it that you need? Okay, this is the biggest federation in the country because it's the capital. What is it that you need? How can we make the league function? Whether it's the National League, whether it's the Academy League, whether it's the Women's League. What is it that you need? What is it that you're lacking? And then what is it that we can maybe provide as a federation to help that move forward? Correct? So that's the stance that I will kind of go with. So that would be the stance that I would go with. Find out, rather than me imposing and saying, okay, now I'm the new guy, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this. Me, I'm coming from a different perspective. You come in, let me hear your views, you hear my views, and then we come to a middle ground and we have some kind of agreement, and then we have some kind of accountability between me and the federations. That's what I'm trying to do. This is not a dictatorship. I'm not here to tell you this is the way it's run. I want you guys to tell me, okay, you've been here all your lives. I've been outside. Let's work together. Let's move the country forward. What is it that you need? And maybe I need something from you guys. And then we build together and we move forward. That's the first point. Once I get to that point and we're on a big table and we're sitting and we're talking and we're listening to each other, then we can move forward. Because the main objective from all federations and us is how can we make South Sudan better in the football? That's it. That's the biggest goal. If everything points this direction, then we're in a good place. But if things are going downwards, then I'm not interested. So it's how can we make the whole country better? Not just the capital. Eventually we will go to the other states, but this is where the biggest population is at the moment. So we focus our resources here and then we go out. That's my biggest point.
All right. The biggest point is knowing where you want to go and not come down. We take a break. When we come back, we will continue with the discussion. We have always cried as football lovers. We've always said, like, when will the young men and women come up to manage and administer football in this country so that we have better ideas on how we can move forward? We have seen the old folks who have come in and the money disappears. It is Juba Ego TV. All right, welcome back from that break. You're still watching the Sports Blitz on Juba Ego TV with me, Kelly Abali, as host of the program. It is a special Eid al-Fitr show right in the studios. With me is a gentleman who has shown interest in contesting for the position of president. I don't know who his vice president is going to be. Perhaps it will be me. You never know. But he's talked out some important points that I feel, if given the chance, perhaps we could see a change in the face of football. But in most cases, people come and massage us with nice, sweet, melodious, beautiful words. And at the end of the day, the actions are different from the words they tell us. He's taking a leave from the Basketball Federation that is headed by my friend, DENG. They went to the World Cup. Now they're going to the Olympics. Perhaps under his leadership, we will be in the World Cup. Come which year? 2026?
Yeah.
Perhaps. inshallah. But we're still not done with, of course, his vision for the football in this country. You are talking about the clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah, sitting down with the local football associations and talk to them, and they tell you what they need to do.
Yes.
The question would come in all the football associations or
Yes.
football federations across the world.
Yes.
There is that national league
Yes.
that binds different clubs from different parts of the country.
Yes.
The case in example is the Premier League.
Yes.
We have, of course, our neighbors Uganda with their own Premier League.
Yeah.
We have Kenya with the KPL.
Yeah.
We have Ethiopia with the Ethiopian Premier League.
Yeah.
What is going to be DENG's plan for a national unifying league for the football lovers in this country?
So the long-term vision is to have a very strong Premier League here in South Sudan with 20 teams, where everybody in the future, where everybody has their own stadiums or at least their own training facilities, and you spread it out through the countries. It's a big country, all the states. I believe all the states should have their own national stadium. That is the dream, that is the vision, right? Premier League, not only from the men's side, I also encourage, we have a strong women's Premier League, and the same way how we have the men, we have the reserves, the 23s, all the way down to the junior teams. I also want to have a vision where you have the women's Premier League, then you have an academy system for the women, so they mirror each other, because every strong footballing nation has both men and women, right? And then we can expand out to futsal, to beach football. There's so many other sectors within football. It's not just the 11v11. So the vision is to have such a strong Premier League, and then now we can compete within Africa. Let us have our own team. Let us have one or two teams that are playing the African Champions League and to start doing well. That may come from maybe local businessmen investing into football teams and to represent our country well. Now we've got our own players. Now we've got a bigger pool to choose from. Now we don't necessarily need to rely on players abroad, even though that is sometimes great because they may be playing for bigger clubs. But we can now pull in the future from a pool of excellent players that are playing in the African Champions League that make our country proud, and we can move forward from there. And the foundation of every country, I use Senegal, for example, they invested heavily into their academies all over the country. Every state had as an academy, and it takes time. So we start now with the 5-year-olds, the 6-year-olds, the 7-year-olds. When you have an infrastructure in every place, every state, eventually we have such a big pool of players. Now it's so much easier to choose for the national team. And eventually on the world stage, everybody's judged on what the national team is producing, correct? So now we have a strong league. We got players in all over East Africa, wherever worldwide. Now we become a powerhouse. And that for me, long term, whether it's 20 years or 30 years or even 15 years, that is the plan for us to be a powerhouse within East Africa. And within the near future is to try to be a powerhouse within East Africa. How we'll do it, that is details that will come later. But we plan to be a strong contender. We want to be able to win games because you're judged purely on what you produce, right? If we're winning 5, 6, 7 games consistently, we'll be recognized. Now we're going through to the African Cup of Nations. We go do well there. Now we go to the World Cup and we start dominating our region. We have all the potential. We have all the resources that we can move this country forward. And like I said, just to go back to the example of basketball, they have done it in a very short period of time, and there's no reason why we cannot do exactly the same thing with football.
Trust building is very important.
Absolutely.
In an institution moving forward.
Yes.
When you move around,
Yeah.
you will hear corporate companies
Yes.
saying we cannot fund or support the football federation because there is lack of accountability,
Yes.
there is money swindling.
Yeah.
How are you going to ensure that your administration, once given the mandate next year,
Yeah.
is able to bring the corporate companies into supporting football?
I think because I've worked with a lot of these corporate organizations while I was in the diaspora, I know how to deal with them. I know how to communicate with them. And for me, it's judge me based on what I do, not what I say. That's my biggest thing, right from the beginning. So while I'm in there, whether it's a 2-month, if I promise you something, you judge me harshly on that. So maybe in a year's time, I come back here, and then now you, Kelly, you can say, oh, you promised such, and such, and now I can give you accountability directly to you. And for me, I want you to hold me accountable because I want to be able to answer exactly how, where the funding is going, where the progress is going. And if things are not going according to plan, I can tell you, listen, Kelly, this is not what's going on. This is the plan, boom, boom. This is the, these are the obstacles. These are the things that challenges we're dealing with, and this is how we're trying to move forward. And then within a period of time, whether it's 2 months or 3 months, you check in again. That's how you create accountability. That's how you create a bond within the nation's trust, and also potentially me being the president of the nation. So whether, I think sometimes we put so much trust on the external, right? The external companies put in a magnifying glass on us to judge us. But my main concern is my people. That's the honest truth. I care about South Sudan. I care about the image and the idea and the respect of my people more than I have the respect for those externally. You have to start at home first, correct? So what I'm saying is now, it's to focus heavily internally, build the trust internally with the local federations. That's key. That's absolutely key. And once we build and we work together, then we can move forward into the international community. It doesn't go outside inwards, it goes inside outwards.
Last but not least,
Yeah.
we've seen the least funded institutions
Yes.
in this country,
Yes.
actually sports institutions,
Yeah.
by the national government,
Yes.
which is literally supposed to be their mandate.
Yes.
So how are you going to make sure that you build that trust and relationship with the government to see that they are able to support football wholesomely, not just when a team has reached a certain stage with their hard-earned sweat, then they come in?
Well, I think there's also a trusting with the government, right? So maybe there isn't with a federation, maybe there isn't, there is, like you said, accountability and the trusting. Maybe it's not fully there. And maybe as a young guy, maybe it's our turn to drive that and to change that, right? So when we start producing results, now we go and play Kenya, Uganda, Ethiopia, Sudan, Egypt, and so on. Once we start winning these games, because you have to win, you have to produce results. This is a results driven industry, correct? Once we start winning that, I'm sure our leaders would want to support the whole country, correct? And then now, maybe as an individual, maybe as a country. But first, also, we've got to work with the little that we have, succeed with the little we have before we expect big stuff. Because now if we just get fully loaded and we're not able to handle it, then that's where misuse comes from. So for me personally, it's work with what we have, try to build within our region, be dominant within our region, and the resources will come. I 100% believe our resources will come. It's a nationalist country. Everybody loves their country. Everybody loves the football team, and everybody wants the team to succeed. You know, even me as a supporter, I want all the other sports to succeed. I have interest in it.
Who's your favorite player from within South Sudan that you know?
That I know? It's a tough one. Who's yours?
My best local player?
Yeah.
He's called Peter Cholbentu.
Yeah?
Habibu.
That's a tough one.
He plays for Almeric.
Yeah. For me personally, that's a tough one. Yeah, that's a tough question for me to answer. It's a very tough question because I have a few in mind, but I can't give you one specific
There is that one when you watch him, you feel like, yeah, this is the guy.
Okay.
That but one player.
Okay. Yeah, I can't give you the player right now. I can't give it to you.
All right, as we wind it up, I want you to look into that particular camera and tell the people who are watching you on Juba Echo TV that you are the man who deserves to be the president of South Sudan Football Association in 2025.
So, for those of you guys that are watching, my name is TENG. Growing up in the diaspora, as you guys have heard on the interview, and I definitely think I'm the man to lead the country forward. I'm young, fit, energetic, and I think I really have the vision to move the country forward. And we want something to be proud of. You know, those of us that have left outside of this, left the diaspora, have come home so we can try to make a change. And there needs to be room for us, correct? for the young guys, anyway, for myself and any other young guys that are contested. And my message is always, you hold us to the highest accountability. If it's me that's the right man for the job, or if it's another man who's the right man for the job, and if their values and their goals align with pushing the country forward, that's the person that you go for. But for me, I believe I have what it takes to move South Sudan forward in the future.
Well, he believes that he has the potential, the ability, the energy to move South Sudan football to a brighter future if given the chance. It is now left into the hands of the voters. Like I said, I am not going to vote. You who is watching, perhaps you might be an administrator in a local football association, but if you're not going to vote. Until next year, that's when we will determine who will be the new president of South Sudan Football Association. But the young gentleman that is at Deng has shown the interest. And if you listen to him critically, you will know that he has the vision for this country. It is left into the hands of the General Assembly that will sit on a date yet to be announced by the Football Federation next year to decide whether he deserves the chance or he does not. My name is Kelly Abale. Thanks for watching. Until then, bye-bye.